Caroline Lucas, why do you think you won this award?
Well, I'm hugely honoured to have won, and I guess it's in recognition of the work that I've been doing in Brighton Pavilion with some extraordinary organisations down there. We are blessed with such a group of wonderful non-government organisations. And so, for example, I've been working quite closely with RISE, which is an organisation that works with women who have suffered from domestic violence, working with them around issues about how we try and prevent that violence, looking at things like introducing mandatory personal, social, economic and health education in schools so that young people have a better sense of what is and isn't appropriate. Working very closely with the LGBTIQ community in Brighton and Hove as well. One of the big issues I've been campaigning for is a transgender clinic in Brighton. At the moment, people who want that kind of service have to join a very long waiting list in London. So there are some hopefully quite practical things that I've been working on in Brighton to try to make sure that the thriving community down there really does feel like one inclusive community.
Do you feel that small minority groups can sometimes be the catalyst for quite powerful change in society?
I think that's a really interesting question, and I think you are absolutely right. You know, I'm thinking of things like the gay marriage vote that was, that's something that would particularly benefit LGBT people. But on the other hand, I think it was a catalyst for a revolution of way people thought about that institution, whether or not it directly affected them or not. So I do think that sometimes it is those perhaps smaller groups, people from outside, challenging a little bit, and then pushing and pushing, and then suddenly things change, and that's very exciting.
And do you think it's easier for them to engage with you as a minority politician rather than it is for them to engage with the Goliaths of the big parties?
Again, I hadn't thought of that, but I hope that's true in the sense that certainly as a representative of one of the smaller parties, I've made it a real priority myself to go out to try to reach people who perhaps have felt as if they are somewhat on the sidelines of the current political system. You know, I'm very alive to the fact that for so many people, this place, Parliament, seems so inaccessible, so remote, so untransparent, so out of their sphere of knowledge or influence. And the more we can actually demonstrate that they can have influence over this place and what happens here, then I think the more we can engage people and bring about change.
And is working with minority groups in the community, is that in your DNA, in your modus operandi? And if so, to what extent does it affect what you might consider more routine parliamentary work?
I think I do see myself here being a bit of an outsider, being suddenly on the inside, and that sense of being on the outside in is quite interesting. And I think it means that I look at this place a bit differently and perhaps have more sympathy and empathy with others who kind of feel that they're somewhat on the outside. And now I'm in here, I'm really determined to thrust open the doors and get as many people from the outside in here too, in whatever way, whether that's through their influence, through their voices, or indeed being elected as well. So I do think there's something about that experience of being a bit of an outsider that perhaps does have that effect.
Is there any one single message that you would send out to other parliamentarians from your experience as to how they should handle minority issues within their communities?
I suppose it's somewhat to challenge the idea of a minority concern, a minority issue, a minority group, in the sense that so often what we're actually talking about are human rights, and we all know that human rights are indivisible, and therefore the human right of one person is of interest and of concern to all of us. And so I would hope that MPs wouldn't overlook what might appear to be a minority concern and therefore not, you know, one of their mainstream concerns, because actually all of this is completely related, and to that extent I think that minority concerns are indeed the concerns of the majority too.
Caroline Lucas, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you.